My friends, we live in a time where it's easy to point out what's broken. It's easy to criticize what's wrong. It's easy to throw up our hands and say, that's just the way things are. But deep down, we know better. Deep down, we know that no matter who we are, no matter where we come from, we are capable of making things better. Better begins with small choices, not grand miracles. Too often we convince ourselves that improvement requires something extraordinary, something so monumental that it feels out of reach. We imagine that unless we can fix everything at once, our efforts don't matter. But the truth is, change rarely comes in sudden, sweeping waves. More often, it is born in the smallest of decisions, the quiet choices we make each day that slowly but surely reshape the course of our lives. A smile offered to a stranger, a word of encouragement to a friend, a few extra minutes spent on a task to make it excellent instead of simply acceptable. These are not grand gestures, yet they hold immense power. Small choices accumulate. One builds upon another until what once seemed insignificant becomes the foundation of something transformative. When we commit to these small choices, we discover that progress is not as distant as we thought. Choosing to wake up a little earlier to prepare, choosing to listen more attentively to someone who feels unheard, choosing to take responsibility instead of placing blame. Each moment adds weight to the direction we are moving, and over time, those choices create habits, and habits create character, and character shapes destiny. No miracle is required, just persistence, discipline, and the willingness to do the little things with care and intention. It is also important to realize that waiting for miracles leaves us powerless. If we tell ourselves that only something dramatic can change our lives, then we sit still, hands folded, waiting for a rescue that may never come. But when we embrace small choices, we reclaim our power. We no longer wait for the world to shift. We start shifting it ourselves, one decision at a time. That power builds confidence. It shows us that we don't need to control everything to make a difference. We only need to control our choices in the moment we are given. Better does not arrive overnight, but it does arrive for those who are consistent. Those who choose to do a little more good today than yesterday, who choose to try a little harder, who choose to lift someone else up instead of looking away. Better begins right where we are, in the simplest of moments, and it grows stronger with each small choice we dare to make. Every act of kindness and courage creates a ripple of change. When we think about influence, our minds often go to leaders, celebrities, or those with vast resources. But the reality is that the smallest gestures carry the potential to shift the world around us. A kind word spoken at the right moment can heal a wound that no one else could see. A simple act of generosity, like offering time or attention, can give someone the strength they need to keep going. Courage, too, does not always take the form of heroic deeds. Sometimes it is the courage to speak the truth when silence would be easier, or the courage to stand up for someone who cannot stand for themselves. These actions may seem small in the moment, but their impact can extend far beyond what we can measure. Kindness and courage spread because they awaken something in others. When someone experiences compassion, they are reminded of their own humanity and often feel compelled to pass it on. When someone witnesses courage, they are inspired to find that same strength within themselves. This is the ripple effect. Our actions do not stop with us. They move outward, touching the lives of people we may never meet, influencing choices we will never see, and creating chains of impact that stretch far beyond the starting point. It is easy to underestimate this power. In a world filled with conflict, division, and uncertainty, one person may feel too small to make any real difference, but history and everyday life prove otherwise. Movements have started because a single individual decided to act differently. Communities have been uplifted because someone chose kindness over indifference. Even families and friendships have been healed because one person had the courage to forgive, to listen, or to lead with love. These moments remind us that we are never powerless. Every act of kindness and courage is a choice to add light to a world that sometimes feels dark. It may not always be recognized, and it may not always be easy, but it is never wasted. The ripple is real. Each action matters, and each of us has the ability to set it in motion. When we realize that, we stop waiting for others to change the world and instead begin changing it ourselves, one ripple at a time. Progress is possible even when perfection is not. Many people hold themselves back because they believe that unless they can do something flawlessly, it is not worth doing at all. This mindset paralyzes growth because perfection is an illusion that no one can truly reach. Life is not meant to be without mistakes, missteps, or lessons learned through trial and error. What matters is not flawless execution, but the willingness to move forward despite the imperfections. Progress is about momentum, about inching closer to a goal each day, about building upon yesterday's effort instead of being stuck in the impossible standard of absolute perfection. When we let go of perfection, we create space for learning. Mistakes become teachers rather than failures. Setbacks turn into stepping stones rather than dead ends. A writer becomes better with each page, even if the early drafts are messy. An athlete improves with each practice, even if the first attempts are clumsy. A leader grows stronger through challenges, even if some decisions fall short. The process itself refines us, and progress is the reward for choosing effort over inaction. Those who demand perfection before taking a step will never move, while those who accept progress over perfection continue to climb higher than they imagined. Progress also teaches resilience. When we see ourselves improving even in small ways, we realize that growth is possible, that we are not stuck in place. This realization fuels perseverance. It gives us hope in difficult times because we can look back and see how far we have come. That perspective pushes us to keep moving forward, knowing that each imperfect step still matters. Even when success feels far away, the knowledge that we are progressing keeps us alive with purpose. Perfection may look shiny, but it often leads to frustration, self-doubt, and inaction. Progress, on the other hand, is achievable, tangible, and deeply rewarding. It reminds us that growth is not about being flawless, but about being better than we were yesterday. When we shift our focus from perfection to progress, we liberate ourselves from fear and hesitation. We give ourselves permission to try, to learn, to fail, and to rise again. And in that steady rhythm of imperfect effort, we discover that real success lies not in perfection, but in persistence. Ordinary people can drive extraordinary change. Too often, we look at history or at the world around us and assume that great progress comes only from those with power, wealth, or fame. But the truth is, the foundation of every movement, every revolution, every shift in society has been built by everyday individuals who chose to act. Change does not wait for heroes to descend from the sky. It grows out of the courage, resilience, and determination of ordinary men and women who decide that enough is enough, who decide that they cannot stand still when something must be done. An ordinary person who speaks up against injustice inspires others to find their voice. A teacher who goes the extra mile for students changes the course of countless futures. A parent who sacrifices for their children sets in motion generations of impact. None of these acts may be broadcast on television or written in history books, but their influence is real and lasting. Extraordinary change does not always look dramatic. Sometimes it is quiet, steady, and patient, built one act at a time by people who never considered themselves remarkable. What makes ordinary people powerful is their connection to real life. They understand the struggles of everyday existence, the challenges of providing, the importance of community, and the value of compassion. This perspective grounds their actions in authenticity. When they step forward, others see themselves reflected in that courage, and it spreads. Change becomes possible not because one person does everything, but because one person dares to act and, in doing so, gives others permission to believe they can too. History is filled with examples of individuals who began with nothing more than conviction and consistency. Movements for freedom, equality, education, and justice did not begin with governments or institutions. They began with ordinary people who refused to accept the world as it was and worked tirelessly to make it better. This truth should inspire us because it means the potential for extraordinary change lives within each of us. No title, no position, no recognition is required. What is required is the decision to take responsibility, to do what is right, to act when action is needed. When ordinary people choose to step forward, they prove that extraordinary change is not a dream but a reality within reach. Making things better is not a slogan. It's a responsibility. Words alone cannot heal a wound, solve a problem, or create progress unless they are paired with action. It is easy to talk about change, to dream of a brighter future, or to repeat hopeful phrases, but true improvement demands effort. Responsibility means owning the role we play in the state of our lives, our relationships, and our communities. It means realizing that we cannot simply wait for someone else to step in and fix what is broken. If we see an issue and ignore it, if we recognize suffering and remain silent, we are choosing comfort over responsibility. And when we do that, nothing changes. Responsibility does not always look grand. Sometimes it is as simple as keeping our word, showing up when others depend on us, or taking care of the spaces we live in. Sometimes it means admitting mistakes, apologizing when we are wrong, or making sacrifices for the sake of others. At its core, responsibility is about accountability. It asks us to stop blaming circumstances, stop pointing fingers, and start asking what we can do to improve what is within our reach. It is about stepping forward, not stepping back. Taking responsibility also gives us strength. When we accept that we have a part to play in making things better, we shift from feeling powerless to feeling empowered. Instead of waiting for conditions to improve, we recognize that our choices can directly influence outcomes. This mindset is liberating because it places the power of change back in our hands. Even if the world is unfair, even if challenges are overwhelming, we still hold the ability to choose responsibility over resignation. When people collectively take responsibility, progress accelerates. A community where individuals hold themselves accountable is stronger, more resilient, and more hopeful. Families grow closer, friendships deepen, workplaces thrive, and societies advance when people stop waiting for someone else and start contributing what they can. It becomes clear that making things better was never meant to be a catchphrase or a campaign promise. It was meant to be a call to action, a reminder that each of us carries the duty to leave things better than we found them. Responsibility is not optional, it is the price of progress. Together, step by step, we can build a brighter tomorrow. The journey toward progress is not a solo endeavor. It is a collective effort where each person's contribution matters. No individual has all the answers. No single hand can carry the weight of change alone. But when we combine our strengths, our voices, and our determination, we become unstoppable. Working together means understanding that unity does not demand sameness. We do not need to think alike, look alike, or live alike to move forward in harmony. What we need is a shared vision, a commitment to lifting each other up, and the patience to walk side by side, even when the path is long. Every step we take as a group builds momentum. One person's idea sparks another's. One person's effort inspires more, and before long, the small actions of individuals merge into the great force of collective progress. Step by step is important because real change rarely happens overnight. It is built over time, through persistence, through countless moments where people choose not to give up, not to turn against one another, but to keep moving forward. In that slow, steady rhythm lies the strength to overcome challenges that once seemed insurmountable. The beauty of building a brighter tomorrow together is that no one is left behind. When we walk together, we notice who is struggling, we pause to lend a hand, and we make sure that progress lifts everyone, not just a few. The brightest future is not one where only some succeed. It is one where everyone has the chance to thrive. That is why unity and patience are powerful tools. They allow us to balance urgency with compassion, ambition with responsibility, vision with care. A brighter tomorrow is not a distant dream. It is created in the choices we make today, in the ways we treat each other, in the willingness to believe that cooperation is stronger than division. Step by step, with each act of kindness, each effort at understanding, each decision to work together instead of apart, we lay the bricks of a future worth inheriting. The pace may not always be fast, the progress may not always be visible right away, but when we remain united, the tomorrow we build will shine brighter than any challenge we face today.